Hey, Guillermo.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back to our conversation, Guillermo and Lee. Guillermo is an Argentinian artist living in Slovenia right now. And can I also call you a Slovenian right now?
You can
Yes?
call me the way you want. I don't know. I don't consider myself Slovenian, but I might
Mm,
have acquired many features from here already.
yeah. So we'd like to know more about your life journey. And last time you mentioned a trip. You said it's very important. It changed your life. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yes. Well, it was more like a period of traveling that lasts around 11 years or something
Wow.
like that.
So from
Uh,
which year to which year? Could you remember?
no, I don't remember the years in the
Mm,
calendar, but I remember my ages. So when I was 18, I left.
mm,
Basically my home, the things I knew, and then I started some long drifting that lasted for around 11 years till I moved to Chile. And
mm,
after 2 years of living in Chile, I moved to Europe.
mm,
It all was kind of random events. So when I was 18, 19, 20, I had this period that I was commenting before about taking these sacred plants. I think I took one of each, and then the effects were really long for several months. Not the state of being affected by the plant, but the intellectual and philosophical consequences of this experience lasted many months, and in one case, in one particular case, they last 5 years.
5 years.
It,
Wow.
yes, the thing is like that. Like in this, one of the trips was going to. We took a train from Buenos Aires uh, to Tucumán, which is a part of in north of Argentina. Then we took another train to Bolivia, and then in Bolivia we took a boat, and then no, we took a bus and then a boat, and we end up in an island in a lake which is very high. It's like 4,000 meters high. And there we took some plant. We ingested one of these plants, and then I had like a 12-hour trip of visions and experiences and processes. And then it took me, then the next day I wake up and I forgot what happened. I just have few glimpses of something, but I didn't remember all the this journey that I had inside myself while I was high on this plant and moving through the island alone during the night. And then it took me a series of realizations that lasted around every 6 months approximately. I would have a conversation or have some kind of experience where I remember a part of this experience I had this night, five 5 months ago, and subsequently every 6 months, where I was constantly traveling, moving from place to place, from city to city, hitchhiking, and displacing myself constantly, I would enter in a situation where I would start to have a conversation, and then suddenly I would just remember some visions or some part of ideas or some sort of knowledge that I acquired during this trip. And the trip it lasted only 12 hours, but to access to the memory of the whole of it, it took me 5 years. And
Wow.
then it was the last time was a moment where I was sitting somewhere in Chile in some beach in a bench, talking with a guy that I didn't know, and then I got the last piece of this journey, and then it has to do somehow with the experience that I was having in this moment. What I experienced that was so strange about these plants and why I respect them so much, it was because it was something like, if I want to make it short, it was something like the plant would kind of transfer this like storytelling where there are like different events or different transformations happening. Then I will forget, and then I will go and do exactly these things as if I would be following some kind of script, although all this following was subconscious because I had no memory of the events. And every time I accomplished one of those discoveries or transformations that were revealed to me through traveling, I would remember a part of this journey that I have of 12 hours. And the last part is the only that I remember, the one that I can still remember now. It was this, a conversation in a bench, where I realized that this experience, this type of realization that I was having through this conversation with this person in this unknown place was already something that I experienced in this trip 5 years ago. And then it was the end of this transfer of, I don't know what, some sort of knowledge or an insight or an imprint of some very, very unusual source. Because there are very few experiences in our Western lives that could resemble something like that. You know? But yeah, because I experienced it myself, I didn't have like a great possibility to resist to what I was experiencing. So I didn't have problems believing what was happening to me. These plans were really strong in the sense that they push you into a state of mind or an experience of life that it seemed to me, now I don't remember so well, but it seemed to me at that point that it was more real than the reality that I would experience every day. And then this somehow, it's like there is an element in the description of reality that we all share that in some individuals is missing. We all believe in this world of objects, and we can constatate anytime we want that things are there, that there is a lot of manifestations of reality around us, that they are already classified and qualified by different sciences. It can be relational, it can be the organisms, it can be physical laws and effects. all this reality that we know, it is very much real. But when you have access to a parallel reality or another dynamic of reality, which is not that one, the effect is very strong because you miss the absolute of this version of reality. This is the only problem. No? It's like when somebody is a religious person or not. A person, I think, that is a religious believer possess like possess an extra element in his capacity to perceive the reality. There is an extra, I don't know what it is exactly because I'm not completely religious, but there is an extra element that provides a specific feeling that people who aren't believers cannot experience because they cannot access this function. And in this sense, this is what somehow why this journey changed my life. It's because it pulled the carpet from below my feet in respect to a consensual understanding of reality. And then I had to deal with my own psychology, with my own psyche, and try to build a bridge to reconstruct a connection with the society. This is the hardest thing, and this is why it's so much work, and why you don't need to take these plans many times, because only one time is more than enough to have a work for years.
That's very interesting. Did you try to do the similar thing in Europe as well?
No,
No.
it was part of this period of my life when I was between 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, something like that, this age where I was basically like searching for any kind of instruction or knowledge, because I was sure that the life that was around myself, it was not what I wanted or what I was meant to be, or it was not. I had a sensation, that the perception that life was something else than what I was able to contact, to what I had at my reach. And then traveling became this something else, a constant displacement, a constant adaptation. I don't think it was so much related with the different places, but mostly with the type of transformations that my psyche had to do with every displacement. There is a constant adaptation and scanning of the new environment and understanding of what is required and what is rejected in every environment, and then it's a modification of your personal character to match those expectations in order to achieve what you want. And then also the incredible strong impact of meeting people, no? Like how every person can be so intense in this type of conditions, because when we have like a regular job, like a regular week, and even like there's people I know that they know what they will do the whole year, and they know when they will have holidays in 1 year in advance, within very regulated frames. People are not as disruptive as if you are just completely in the air, disconnected from any kind of obligation and moving through the land. Every encounter could completely affect your psychology and your way of perceiving things, because there is nothing defining it. So on top of all these transformations of language or culture or idiosyncrasy that I have to perceive and apply on myself to integrate myself with these different societies I was part of. On top of that was also the exchange of that implies meeting people per se, like the strength of their character and the strength of the way they affected my own character with their own particularities and ideas and events.
So if you recall right now, you can basically describe what happened in these, you say 5 years, like this.
No, I don't remember very well.
So it's like impression, some kind of.
I remember it very well at some point, and I describe it to many people since that moment onwards. So I remember my own phrases describing it. I know that I told many people that I have this trip for 5 years, and at that point when I started saying that, this was like 15 years ago. When I started saying this story, I still remembered all these messages and all these things. But after years and years of constant like new experiences in new territories and learning new languages, I completely store all these memories somewhere which I don't have access to. I might be able to recall them if I would have some kind of guided somebody who guides me into how to access those memories. I believe everything it is somewhere in my psyche, but I don't remember the things. I know that it was more like to say very roughly, until the 18 years old, I was learning about the world, but about everything through reading. I was constantly reading because I was very introverted, and I was somehow more comfortable reading than socializing. So most of the time that perhaps any normal person would use to know others and to connect with people, I would employ into reading, you know. And then I read, I don't know, philosophy or history or poetry or history of arts. I think it was some spirituality. And then when I had these experiences with the plants, I realized that this was, I had the experience that I was going to Tibet and to these different places and having all these adventures, but it was only through the codification of these characters on the pages. And then I somehow got the feeling that I was not really experiencing the world. I was only reading stories about that. And this somehow propelled me to quit all this city life and go start hitchhiking and traveling for many years. So in a way, basically the message in a very rough way, it would be to go out and live the experiences instead of reading about them.
Yeah, I have a similar experience. Like I used to watch a lot of movies, and at some point I feel like, yeah, this is a movie. This is some kind of interpretation of other people's idea or experience. But where is my real experience? It was very weak, yeah, at the moment. So I decide, yeah, I should somehow change the way I live, and how do I gain the real experience that I can interpret by myself? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think there is a moment in the characters that they are interested in art and culture and they have some kind of message to convey to others. There is always a moment of self-determination where we embark into like a major modification of our character. I think it's present in all the artists or some. It's like a type of person that would eventually go through extreme transformations and have the experience of transforming himself.
Yeah. So so you're talking about this journey, and after the journey, like how do you do you feel like you at the time you would like to continue this journey, or you decide like, okay, that's it, I'm going to make change? Like what kind of scenario?
Well, it was something like I was traveling after this for a few years more, and at some point I end up sick in a road somewhere in a countryside in Chile, and I was throwing up. I had nothing, no money, no idea what to do. I was traveling for a while, for a few months with two friends, and then we separated, and I got somehow completely lost. And in this time, I had during all these years until this moment, I used to experience. I don't know. I think it was from the beginning of teenage till this moment where I was something like 28 years old or something like that. I experienced like a deep sadness, very deep sadness, like in a constant everyday level. And I was there in this middle of nowhere, hitchhiking in a dirt road where there was almost no cars. And then I went under a tree, and then I kind of had some kind of mystical experience with this tree where I had made some kind of confession to it. More than the confession, I opened my heart to this tree because I believed that somehow the tree could somehow perceive my troubles. And then I think I talked for maybe 1 hour or something with this tree. Of course, the tree never answered anything, but I still have the possibility or the capacity to produce this monologue about the real state of my heart or my soul at the time. And I thought I got the feeling of having to be alone was the most painful experience that I have at this time. Something like in the field of the romantic life or something. I think I was always in love with somebody that was unreachable for many years, different people. And I got used to this kind of poetic status of somebody that is aiming for something that is unreachable and it is very passionate about describing it, and describing the pain and describing all these impossible relationships and things like that. So after I had this very deep, I know that was a deep moment because I remember it, and also because I had there was a different state of mind. I think there are moments in life where we have this, let's say, the way we live every day. It is in most cases we can call it like a resolving problem state of consciousness. We have to follow a lot of regulations and the rational explanations of things in the city, and we get used to it, and we operate through these channels to achieve different things that we need to live in these cities, to progress and to live always better in these environments. But there are other type of experiences that can be maybe during the night in the forest, or under the influence of some plant, or after, I don't know, like a trip that you have to walk for 3 days and you think that you're gonna die of thirst or something, but in the end you survive. There are extreme situations that somehow push something that could be like the state of consciousness that you have every day into a different position. And then your perception of being a human and your perception of yourself and your perception of the environment and of the meaning of life, it's altered. And for an artist, perhaps this is an experience that is more common. Could be like some kind of trance that you get by playing or by dancing or even creating something or in a conversation, or I don't know. But the point is that the continuity of everyday life, it's stopped, and then there is an experience of a different type, and then it's a return to this normal way of living, which is the strongest, no? In terms of how I define sanity, is the capacity of a psyche to come back always to the ordinary state of living, to be able to communicate with people, to behave normally in the society. When somebody visits these states, these different states too often or too much, or they go too far into that without knowledge or preparation, they might not be able to connect back to society. And that was the only real danger that I felt since the beginning of this journey into knowledge or discovery, which we started with one friend in Buenos Aires. We were always really aware that the main enemy was to get crazy. For us, the biggest danger was not to be hurt physically by somebody or to lose some property, or I don't know, to be alone, but basically to get crazy. That was the only real risk that we saw. And then we made a lot of efforts, intellectual efforts, to build somehow, at least when I was 18 years old. We studied philosophy and poets and artists and things, and then we tried to build like a modus operandi to go into this journey without losing the capacity to be normal at the same time. And this implied many different elements that imply certain skills that are related to be who you are, even if you are devoted to a very exotic research about yourself and about the world, and at the same time being able to do something completely normal, like going to a supermarket or making a bank transaction, or I don't know, taking a bus somewhere, finding the information, being able to make money in the world with your work, studying. but at the same time having this inner life of discovery where other laws apply.
But sometimes it's hard to define it, yeah? Like, how do you know you're not crazy? I mean, yes, there's some kind of perception from the society defined if you are crazy or not. But really, if you if you try to define by yourself, then the standard is different, yeah, and the range is different. So, like, I mean, obviously you can pretend you are normal, yeah, but actually, yeah.
Yes, pretending to be normal it's one of the elements of because the important thing about not being crazy is not really
Is it
if
about
you're
the control?
clinically crazy or not. Is the ability to connect with others. Because the
Okay.
real pain of craziness is the isolation because you lose the code to connect with others. Because nobody experiences what you experience. So if your inner world dominates your mind so much that it's louder than the external world, you start to become isolated from the others because you cannot share your experience, and then nobody's experiencing what you do, and everybody's experiencing the same. Everybody's working, everybody wakes up, everybody goes to school, everybody goes to job, they have on Fridays they go to drink. Everybody is like this beehive,
Yeah.
like we are all synchronized doing the same thing, and you are out, so
Yes.
if this gets too deep or too long, I think they can be damages into the psyche, in the sense that you have less and less encouragement or less and less self-confidence to succeed in that, in joining that. For me, it was always I always consider it from this point of view of the ritual. The ritual would be some kind of ceremony that people would do, which in South America is very, very common, where there is somebody leading maybe, and then there is some kind of procedure, and everybody that is in the ritual has its own role, and then the ritual starts and ends, and then it's finished. But one of the elements is that nobody can be outside the ritual. Nobody can be just like a witness looking what the other person is doing, because the ritual doesn't work. I have no idea why this is like that, but it is somehow what I experience in all these events where there were some people celebrating something and nobody could be outside. Everybody should participate in some way. And I think in the normal life of everybody, the ones who stays outside, driven by his own ideas, or I don't know, because he's shy, or because he has some disease or some accident or some kind of problem or some traumatic situation, they suffer the isolation from society, and this is why I think the healthiest thing is to love the world around you, that to love the people walking around you, to even if it is difficult to go to a supermarket and be normal, if you still manage to do it, and people interact normally with you, you are somehow in connection with the society, and you don't experience this complete isolation from the others, which is one of the elements of migration. No? When you travel to a different country and you don't speak the language, I remember having an incredible shock of how useless I was, because I couldn't say nothing. I couldn't express what I needed, what I wanted. I couldn't answer anything. I couldn't understand what people were talking. And we are not used to that because it's very rarely that we would be in a situation like that. But when you experience it, you realize how your normality and or your everyday life is based in very complex skills, like, for example, speaking.
That's right. Okay. So now you finish the journey. Yeah, like we come back to the time. you talk to the tree.
Yes.
And then you're going to step into the different part of your life journey, and that we are going to keep it for the next episode. Okay.
Okay.
Because this is what we
Already
do.
half an hour. Oh my god.
Yes, this is what we do. We try to continue
Nice.
the journey, and then so thank you for today. Thank you, everyone. Have the patience to listen to us until now, and please, expect the next episode next week, and please remember to subscribe and share, please. Thank you so much, and thank you, Guillermo.
Next week is the story of the monastery. Yeah?
Yes, thank you, monastery. Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you, and see you next time.
See you next time, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you.